Good evening, campers, and welcome aboard the Starship Nightwish. I'm Commander Exorcist, and it is Tuesday, 10th of January, 3309, and we are in the midst of the Thargoid War, the Second Thargoid War, and things are really interesting right now. There's been some really fascinating political developments over the past few hours. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit, and there's some things to discuss about our galaxy and what's actually going on out there. But before we get started, big shout out to the disciples. These are the people that make this content possible, keep the channel running. Thank you so much for your support. If you are interested in supporting my content here on the channel or on the other social media platforms, patreon.com/Commander Exorcist. Love to have you as part of the team. I do special Patreon only monthly videos and different things, so try to keep it a little bit fresh. And so if you'd like to help out, definitely could use and would appreciate your support. So let's get into today's article. Admiral Aden Tanner. Now it's hard to say if he was or is. Let's talk about him in the past tense for the moment. He was an admiral of the Federal Navy. And back in 3307, when kind of the Salvation, I don't call it storyline, but arc was really starting to take off and kind of starting to build some momentum, Tanner did something really interesting. And ultimately, he ended up being court-martialed because he tried to take control of a mining station. And so his trial's been ongoing, and he was court-martialed, but something interesting happened today, and we're going to talk about that. So Galnet released this yesterday. Admiral Tanner receives a presidential pardon. Zachary Hudson's at it again. The court-martial verdict of Admiral Aden Tanner, whom I think my communications officer has worked and got us that's Danny Tanner. Where is it here? Okay. Well, I guess this is the only picture we have of him. He looks kind of cryptic, encrypted. Anyway, the court-martial verdict of Admiral Aden Tanner has been officially overturned by an executive order from President Zachary Hudson. In November 3307, Tanner attempted to take control of the Hind Mine. You know, it sounds like hive mind, but they purposely didn't name it that, just to confuse you. Hind Mine starport, while in command of the Musashi megaship. He claimed that databanks at the headquarters of Taurus Mining Ventures as Azimuth Biotech was then known contained evidence that Salvation's anti-Xeno weapons, super weapons, were designed to attract the Thargoids into populated systems before they were deployed. Now let's talk about that for a minute. I think that now, once we saw the events of HIP 22460, and it almost is like the weapon did attract the Thargoids. And so Tanner was right in this respect. And there were a lot of people, myself included, that were rooting for Salvation to be successful. You know, the idea of a super weapon ending the war before it started, great idea. But in this case, he was really skeptical. And so he took it to the point where he was willing to capture a starport and actively fight before Salvation was able to launch his superweapon. A legal review last September after the Proteus wave was used to entice Thargoids to HIP 22460 substantiated Tanner's claims. His sentence was commuted to time served, but his dishonorable discharge was upheld. Okay, so he is done. He is no longer Admiral Tanner. He is, but he doesn't officially hold that rank anymore, or nor does he hold the position of Admiral in the Federal Navy. This granting of clemency by President Hudson quashes the convictions of mutiny and unlawful military action. So in hindsight, the Federation has seen the light, and they realize now that Aden was right. He was. He was right to be suspicious of what was going on and the coming threat of the Thargoids post-Proteus wave. The Office of the Federal President published the following. Aden Tanner has an impressive and honorable record of service to the Federation, including a key role as Chief Military Liaison to Aegis, rest in peace. His brief violation of protocol has since been accepted as based on sound intelligence. I love how they describe that. His brief violation of protocol. You mean his attempted seizing of a starport? Sure, that's a military way to describe something like that. President Hudson therefore believes that Tanner's in-depth experience in combating Thargoid forces is too valuable to disregard, considering the current situation. That's interesting, though. So, if Hudson believes that Tanner, that his experience is important to fighting the Thargoids, why did he uphold the dishonorable discharge? It seems like he would, reinstate him. Or, granted, even with the dishonorable discharge, Hudson can still utilize him as a resource. He can be a liaison or an advisor to the president and to others. But that's really weird that he would make that kind of statement but uphold the dishonorable discharge. The military is a strange animal. If you've ever served with or in the military, something like this makes total sense. It really does, in the military context. A brief statement was also made by Fleet Admiral Teo Makori. I fully support this presidential pardon, which is in the best interests of all citizens. Admiral Tanner has been formally reinstated and is already being briefed on strategic plans regarding the Thargoids. What, really? But I'm confused. Okay, so he's dishonorably discharged, but he's formally reinstated as an admiral, and he's okay. Federation can do whatever they want. That's why I'm an imperial person. We're pretty standard, and we stick to the line. And the Federation, you guys can do what you want, but it doesn't make much sense. I'd like to stress that I believe the Federal Navy's criminal court's original verdict was just and fair, given all available information at the time. That's a fair point. It's easy to look at Tanner and, kind of see him through the lens and say, oh, he's a madman, and he was just paranoid, and, he wouldn't give salvation a chance, and all this other stuff that, in hindsight, almost just feels like propaganda. And now that we know what happened, the effectiveness of the weapon and what happened to it and what it did and how it actually did entice the Thargoids to enter that system and to wreak havoc. Given all the information that we had at the time, it makes total sense to for the conviction verdict based on the information. But I'm impressed with kind of the outcome. The executive action does not undermine the court's crucial role in maintaining order among enlisted personnel. So good order and discipline in a military setting is crucial. You have to have faith in the system. There are so many moments in time where military members lose faith in their leaders. And this is not to devalue people who have those positions, have leadership positions, and do those kind of things, but they are replaceable. They are replaceable. Admiral Tanner did his thing. He was prosecuted. He was court-martialed. They had a verdict, and they carried out the punishment. Someone stepped in line to take his spot after he was gone. The system kept working. And so, especially in war, at a time like this, you want the system to keep working. You want, no matter what happens, you want to reassure that, hey, look, based on the information we had, Tanner was guilty. But now we know that he was right. He shouldn't have done what he did, and he paid a price for it. But the actual conviction is being overturned. And we're not saying the system didn't work. The system worked exactly like it was supposed to, and it's still working like it's supposed to. It gives him a second chance in many ways. But it also shows the rest of the force that no matter what happens, even at the highest levels, the system still works. Now, granted, he is an admiral. Do you think for a moment that a midshipman down on the lower decks on a megaship is going to get this kind of attention? Absolutely not. And that's an unfortunate side effect of the military system. It works, but it doesn't always work equally. It never has, and it never will, because it's just such a monument. It's such a monster in terms of overall management. And so, I'm good with this. I think this is good news because we need Tanner, Admiral Aden Tanner, not Danny Tanner. We need him. And so Zachary Hudson, I'm not a fan of Zachary Hudson, but this is a good move. This is a really good move because we need all of the support that we can get. The Thargoid War is going okay. There's pushback, there's push forward, and we're winning here, we're losing there, but every little bit helps. And so granting this pardon, great idea. Great job on President Hudson. Good stuff. Welcome back to the fold, Admiral Tanner. So that's it. Quick and dirty today. Admiral Tanner is back, and the Federation has gained a huge military resource. How will they use it? We'll see. I get the feeling we haven't seen the last of Admiral Tanner and his relationship with Zachary Hudson, and who knows what's going to happen. But, yeah, hey, keep watching the skies. The Thargoids are here, and they're coming for us all. But everyone has a part. Everyone can do a part. Stay safe, fly safe, and I will see you out there. Good night, Commanders.